I have had many experiences with dark energy, and I wouldn't change them for the world because that is what made me the strong light worker that I am today. But I'm just going to talk about 2 of them. Maybe another day I'll go through a bunch of other crazy experiences, but these 2 are highlighted to me. So one is an example in which the darkness had an in due to me being in a lower frequency, and one is an example where they did not. So if you haven't already watched my last video, I would recommend going ahead and watching that because that explains all of the ways that our consciousness is under attack, basically, to keep us in a lower frequency. Okay, so let's get into it. The first example is where I'm trying to think of which one to do first. Okay, let's do the one where they had an in first. So I had 2 weeks off from clinic. So I'm an optometry student, and my 4th year I do clinical rotation. So I'm not in classes, I'm in clinic, and we had a 2-week break. And I knew that I needed to stay here in Albuquerque instead of go home to my family for this break, because I knew that those 2 weeks were very crucial to me to stay in my own energy and do a lot of things. And I'm so glad I did, as much as it was sad to be away from my family. For that, I did what had to be done. I followed my inner guidance. And so at the beginning, I was so excited for this break for weeks. I was like, every time I thought about it, I was so excited. Like, and obviously having 2 weeks off is like a dream for me. So I'm like just over the moon. I get done with clinic. I'm buzzing. I'm like, okay, I've 17 days to myself. This is a dream. I have so many things I can do because I have a lot of side projects, a lot of things that I do. So like, this is a dream for me. Like, I've never had 2 weeks off in my life. I've been in school my whole life. And usually on school breaks, I have to study for boards or something, but I had nothing. So it was, I'm getting excited thinking about it as if I'm in the past. So my break starts. The first night, I was just kind of in planning mode, kind of figuring out all the things I wanted to do. I had just bought like 5 new books, so I was reading those, and it was like I wasn't taking any major action yet. And then the next night, I had a very interesting experience, something I've never experienced before. So it is known that when you're going to make a major jump in your life, you're going to face a lot of resistance and fear that's going to come up. And in one of my videos, I gave an amazing quote by Stephen Pressfield from The War of Art, that the greater something is for your soul's evolution, the more resistance you're going to feel. Resistance shows up in many forms, but he defines it as a sinister force that just tries to like keep you from doing what you're supposed to do, basically. So I am like laying in bed, and I feel this dark energy swarm around me. My entire frequency instantly was able to go down, and it just felt so dark. And I was having thoughts that were not my own. My thoughts are normally very positive. I've programmed my mind to be that way. I'm always very optimistic. Any negative that happens to me, I turn it to a positive. I was having thoughts like, what's the point of life? Like, this is all pointless. Everyone's gonna die. Those are not my thoughts. That's the exact opposite of what I think. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like, this is not my thoughts. There's clearly some dark energy trying to bring me down right now before I make this massive jump. And I had to kind of just like radiate unconditional love from my heart chakra to fight it off, which is what I have to do when these attacks happen. And it was weird. So I'm laying there, and then I started getting thoughts that were trying to tell me, like, you need to just go home. What are you doing? You need to go be with your family. Like, you're going to be alone for Christmas and New Year's. What are you thinking? And all of these, like, and I'm like, what? Like, this is not even my thoughts. Like, I had no problem being alone. I love being alone. I wanted to do this. And I'm like, what is going on? So I just held strong. I'm like, okay, like, but this was the strongest dark attack I've had because I wasn't able to fight it off as quickly and easily as I usually am because they had an in. The in was that I subconsciously had fears surrounding making this jump. This jump is change, meaning I'm making changes by doing what I don't normally do, staying in my own energy for 2 weeks, being alone, choosing to start this YouTube channel and take on other projects that I have in the works as well is uncomfortable to do these things that you're not used to. It's very uncomfortable. So I had those fears and resistance that gave the dark an in to come and kind of terrorize me in a way. So then things get intense. I'm feeling my energy is so off. So I normally do not get anxiety. I'm very blessed to not have anxiety. And I felt, I'm like, this has to be what anxiety is like, because I don't know what else it was. It was like my chest had this feeling. It had to have been what anxiety is like. I get this feeling in my chest, and then it felt tight. I remember thinking like, oh my God, this must be what it feels like when someone's about to have a panic attack. So I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. I've never experienced this before. So I'm like, just kind of doing deep breaths. And then I just held the light and I'm like, this is not me. Like they're trying to get me to not make this jump because they have an in, because I have those doubts in my subconscious. And so I just held the light, and then eventually I felt back to normal. And I just was like, okay, like I said, I was like, went to the bathroom. I'm like, so glad I'm back. That was really strange. I'm so excited for this break. Clearly I had some fears surrounding doing this, but thank God that that's over. Like I felt completely back to normal, and I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day and I felt normal. But then there was a little bit in the back of my mind still, like I realized that, wow, okay, subconsciously, I have these fears surrounding doing this because this is very important for my soul's mission. And it's also, a big thing to kind of come on here and just be sharing all of this with people. So it gives the entities an in when you have any of those negative emotions like fear, for them to affect you. And I'm glad that panic anxiety thing happened, because now I understand what that's like. And so I can help people through it. Because I want to help people that experience anxiety and things like that, because that was awful. And I hate to think of people going through that on the regular. So that's the first example of how they had an in to come through me. And I'm telling you, that does not happen normally. There's normally no in for them because of how I've worked on myself so much that I have such a high frequency. There's a couple ways that they can get to me besides what just happened a couple weeks ago with that. The only other way they've been able to get to me within the past few months is through other people. But they really still can't affect me because I notice it right away. And there's been some weird things that happen with that. But that's a story for another time. So now this is the experience where I wasn't in a low frequency. In fact, it was quite the opposite. This was a little bit over a month ago. I was driving from Colorado to Santa Fe. So I'm in Albuquerque right now, and I was spending the night in Santa Fe before moving all my stuff in Albuquerque. So my car was packed, I'm driving, and I have an experience with Yeshua, Jesus Christ. Now, this is not my first experience with Yeshua. My first experience was when I was a kid. It's this whole story in my family. I saw him as a kid. Then in March, I had an experience where he was in my room energetically, and we were telepathying, and he was like, this is why I visited you as a kid, so you can anchor into the Christ consciousness grids that I laid when I walked the earth, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like this, ever since March is when things really changed for me, March of 24, in regards to God and Jesus. So this is not my first encounter with him, but it's not like this. The encounters with him are extremely common. I've had, I would say, a handful since last March of 24, but this one was a major one. So I'm driving, and as I'm driving, I'm connecting with God. And a really good way to connect with God and Jesus is to have music on. Music is a gateway to somehow being able to tap into that energy. So I was listening to, I don't even know what song, but my frequency just raised so high because I was feeling so tapped into the spiritual realm, so tapped in with God and Jesus, so excited about my next chapter of moving to Albuquerque. And I was just in such a high frequency that I was able to connect with Yeshua. So it's like you have to raise your frequency up to be able to be a vibrational match to connect with these higher beings of light. So I'm driving, and it's like I saw him, but I didn't actually see him. It's really hard to explain. It's like I sensed him and I almost saw him, but I didn't. Like, I don't even know how to explain. And I just got, my crown chakra was like receiving all of this. It's like we were telepathying again, and I was getting all this. Oh, it was amazing. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm driving. Wow. Okay. So I'm driving and I'm connecting with him. And then I'm like, it's amazing when that happens. And I get to the hotel and I'm just so high frequency at this point. I remember telling my friend, I'm on a Jesus high right now, because that's how it felt after that encounter. Like, I'm at the hotel, I'm buzzing. Like, my frequency hadn't been that high in so long. Like, so I'm just feeling on top of the world. And I go to bed. And I'm laying in bed. And I'm feeling amazing. And a dark attack comes. So I feel dark energy swarm around me. And there was not a single ounce of fear. So I feel the dark energy swarming, and I'm holding so much light. And I'm just like, I feel a tug on my soul. It felt like my soul was trying to be ripped and pulled down. It was an intense attack. And I was just holding the light, feeling so much love, feeling so protected. I knew I had nothing to worry about. And I'm just holding the light as I feel this darkness around me, and I feel the soul being tried to pull down. And I'm just like smiling and feeling love. And then I start laughing. I'm like, this is weak as fuck. I'm like laughing and like enjoying it and feeling so much love. And then it's like I saw, without seeing, the screaming rage of darkness at the fact that I was not able to be brought down and affected. It was like I saw without seeing, like the screaming rage. Like, it was crazy. And I'm just like unpenetrable. Is that a word? Unimpenetrable. And I'm like just feeling on top of the world. I've never felt so strong. It was amazing. It was 10 out of 10 experience. And then the dark energy leaves another thing, it tried longer than usual, because I've had similar things like this happen and it's very quick and it doesn't try that long, but this one lasted longer than usual. I was kind of like, okay, are you going to be done yet? Like, isn't it pretty clear that I'm not going to, like, I have a 0% of fear right now. So I don't know why you keep trying. Like, I'm literally like laughing at you. Why are you trying? But it lasted for, I would say, like maybe 8 to 10 minutes. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe like 5 to 7. So it leaves, and I'm like, oh my God, that was so like stupid but fun. I'm like, so this is what happens. The closer I get to God, the more the darkness tries to attack me. You become more of a target when you are an ambassador of God, when you are in alignment with your soul's mission, with your divine mission. The darkness will try to attack you. Because why would the dark want to waste their major attacks on people who are not going to try to make a difference in this world? It doesn't make sense. Although they're obviously bringing those people down, they're not doing major attacks the way that they try on people like me. When I had that experience with Yeshua, I was radiating so much light that it made me, everyone sees light. If you're in a dark room and you shine a little light, it'll be seen. So with how much my light was so bright, I attracted the darkness to come and try to bring me down. But I was on such a Jesus high. I couldn't even be the slightest bit. It was the most badass experience ever. I wish that would happen again, because I've never felt so powerful. So anyways, to wrap this up, as you can see, you can either have attacks when you're in a lower state, or they have an in because they're feeding from your insecurities or your fears. Or it can be because you're radiating so much light that they're going to try to take you off course. Let me know if you want more of these stories. I have quite a few.